Yeah, that piece with the 10 points is just ridiculous. I mean, Iran's 10 point program of all these things that are, I don't think any US president in the history of the world would accept. I think this is 100% a move by Trump to try and get a soft landing in the market, which is working, fair enough to him. But I think maybe he's trying to move his troops into Iran whilst this peace is going on. I think there's
Of
still aircraft carriers going
course,
over.
that works on the assumption that the political class knows what it's doing, which I would say probably
That's true as well, yeah.
that's being overly optimistic. But what I was saying just before we started recording this, the reaction of the market to the Iran war just shows what I always said: ignore the news because the market doesn't move apart from really short-term volatility
Mm,
on the news when the market has more or less gone up
mm.
since the start of the Iran war,
Yeah.
which to me is a pretty bullish sign for the market because if you get bad news and the market continues to go up in the face of bad news, that suggests that there is a lot of buying interest there.
Mm,
And therefore, anyone who has been bearish and is expecting bad news and expecting the markets to fall might want to look at that in a little bit more detail and look at why is the market moving up
mm.
in the face of bad news. And of course, the markets move two things really that move the market. One is sentiment, which we've discussed a lot on this channel. When everybody's negative, then it's more likely to go in the opposite direction and vice versa. And also liquidity. So if you've got all these governments printing money, then the people that get the money first, like the friends of the government, the friends of the president, get the freshly printed money, and they don't just keep it in the bank account. They go and buy assets with it because they know those assets are going to increase. Whereas with the volume of money being printed, other the volume of money is going to fall.
Mm.
So gold goes up, asset prices go up, stocks go up, and even when nobody looks at Zimbabwe or Venezuela as places to invest in the stock markets, but when they printed the most money and had the highest levels of inflation, the stock markets were the best performing in the world
Yeah.
in their currency. Like again, we've spoken a lot here about how if you price the market in real money, gold, it's been a bear market since 1999. So
Mm.
that's always the background. All the marketing up or down in any fiat currency like dollars is really just noise and can be easily manipulated.
Mm.
But we all have to use that as the base price line off the market. But if you look at it priced in gold or any other tangible asset, then it tells a very different story. But I would just we've been bearish on the market here. I'm still of that mindset, but the fact that the market is rising on in the face of bad news is something that everyone should take into account.
Yeah, I mean that's what I've been thinking as well. I regret not taking more profits on the fall, but it's very frustrating the sort of drops on bad and sort of war tweets, and then rallies on potential deals and peace programs, which you'd think any serious hedge fund or big money mover just wouldn't believe. Like this piece is just I don't see how at all it's going to happen, and how the market rises on that is absolutely crazy in my opinion. But like you said, there's clearly buyers there, and now maybe it's more of a 50-50 job. But equally, we are saying that oil's gonna rise, and if oil keeps going up, then surely that would end up bringing all the issues we talked about with fertilizer, with food, with energy, with petrol cars, and energy lockdowns, and all these things maybe into effect, which then would cause the market to fall as well.
That's certainly a possibility. And oil, I'm very bullish on. Oil is,
Mm.
I'm certain is going up no matter what happens
Yeah.
in the war. Oil and the other area that people might want to have a look at is the big defense stocks,
Mm.
which in times of war, when you see all these missiles going all over the place, these are expensive pieces of kit. I don't know what each one costs, but it's a lot, and you can guarantee with the incompetence of any government, they'll be overpaying for them. So,
Mm.
I don't think you can go too far wrong by buying shares in the big defense companies, which
Yeah.
companies Lockheed Martin, General Dynamics, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon, these types of companies are worth having a look at. Maybe we'll do a separate video on
Yeah, that's
wartime
a good point.
investing and how to keep yourself safe and make money in times of war on the basis that, what you were saying, this peace plan doesn't really look like it's going to work.
Mm,
And if it doesn't, and even if it does, because so many of these missiles have been fired,
mm.
they're going to replenish the stocks. So
That's true as
all
well.
these defense companies
Really good
are,
point.
are going to are going to do well. So I think certainly they could be worth a punt because we're pretty much in a perpetual state of war.
Yeah.
They never they're very profitable, and you can only imagine the marketing strategy of a big defense company is probably to do what they can to cause as many wars as possible too. So they're probably lobbying all these politicians,
Yeah.
particularly in places like Israel, to fire as many of the missiles as possible.
Well, that's another conspiracy theory of all these big companies and big AI companies very close to Trump. But that's a fair point. Just going on to back onto the market, I think we've always sort of, I mean, we've been right with our trades, and we've been right with our market trades. But I think you've always had a slight bias to using the market as just a risk on and risk off period, but actually trading the other things like, you're saying defense stocks like oil, whereas yeah, like the market and the pumping of the economy is much harder to predict the exact timing when the end is actually there. I mean, we predicted two big moves down, the one recently, and now it's going back up. Could very possibly go all the way back down. And I think I would lean to that being the case, but it seems quite shocking, like you're saying, that these other things are probably easier to trade if we know for certain that this war's going to continue. And actually, I think that could be one of the greatest trades of someone's life if they're convinced. And I'm almost certain. So, I mean, did some bullet points on um why this piece is really not possible. Let me just see if I can pull that up. Yeah, I think Trump's buying time for a ground invasion. That's almost certain. The IRGC, which is actually the military arm of Iran, are not involved in these talks. They're the ones that are firing all the missiles. It's the random politician that they've eliminated like 10 different politicians. So who is actually in charge here and who's pulling the strings is an interesting question to ask. I mean, you don't know for sure. Maybe it is actually legit, but that's just another thing to bear in mind. Yeah, their leadership just doesn't really have any power at the moment. But they're also the type of people that we said in other videos to fight to the bitter end. So if there's certain sects that want to and don't want to, which might be the case if this piece was even in talks, then you might have an Iranian civil war because ones that do and don't want peace. I mean, bear in mind they killed their freaking Ayatollah or whatever. I think there's a lot of people there that don't want an end of a
I,
war.
I
Um,
would imagine your average Iranian is very much like your average Brit or American. They just want to be left in peace by their government and not be at war.
yeah.
They don't really they're not of a mindset that they're interested in these things. Just like none of us want to see wars anywhere. I'd imagine the average Iranian feels the same way. And it's all these governments. The politicians should just be put in a room and let them kill each other. Leave
Yeah.
the people out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about, us being pulled, not us, but if they started conscripting in the US, rumors are that they would conscript the illegal immigrants first. You don't want to be fighting someone's war. You just don't want to be. Why fight these
Yeah,
crazy politicians' wars? They're just agents of the
there seems to be
Matrix. Yeah. Oh.
there seems to be a lot of countries that are suddenly talking about conscription. I noticed the US were talking about it recently. Germany have been talking about it recently. I think it
Mm.
may only be a matter of time before the UK start talking about it. Maybe you want to reconsider where you live because you're right in the main age category for being conscripted.
Yeah, that's true. Well, well, I think I don't know if we talked about it, but Germany are asking their people if they're going away for more than like a month. Like, where are you going? What are you doing? What are you military grade? Are you able to fight? Sort of thing. And I guess that might be quite shocking for people. Bear in mind they don't think that they're even close to any conscription, but they're not gonna. They're just gonna. They'll probably just jump it on people when it's
It,
time.
it's
But.
It's quite interesting. Germans being Germans, they'll probably all answer the government's questions.
Mm,
Whereas I would suggest that anyone doesn't answer questions like that.
yeah, exactly. This is the 10 point program. We can go through it if you want. It's quite funny. Like as if anyone's agreeing to this. Even let alone 1 point. I don't like Owen Jones. He's very sort of left wing, but obviously he's critical of Trump and that stuff, which is fair enough to be honest. But guarantee that Iran won't be attacked again. Linking that to then also, being able to still enrich uranium, which I think is on this list as well. Actually, maybe it's not.
I suppose the point is, can the Americans actually stop the Iranians from doing all these things anyway? And it looks like maybe they can't.
Yeah, lifting sanctions on Iran, which is bigger than people think, opening the strait, but then they get to charge a 2 million fee per ship. Ending all fighting with allies, but then Israel attacked Lebanon literally immediately afterwards, which is just funny. Is that actually the right 10 point? I feel like that's not the right 10. I thought it was more specific, but yeah, acceptance. Yeah, this is actually from Iran's account rather than acceptance of a rich enrichment. So basically, you've got to allow them to build their nuclear weapons and not go. That was the whole point of going in the first place. Have the US even achieved anything? I mean, the one argument that maybe this is legit is if Iran, if for whatever reason there's like a sort of an arrangement where it's like a hybrid. And then Iran can just, if I was Iran, you'd be claiming victory. Like, what has the US actually achieved other than killing the leaders? They've got basically control of the Hormuz. They've got a fee on each ship going through. They can now enrich their in uranium or whatever they want to do here, so
Well,
they can do all the things that the US was supposedly trying to stop them from doing it. It'd be absolutely crazy.
the Iranians are claiming a historic victory, and I don't think
Mm.
anyone can really argue with that.
Yeah.
At least up until now, because they seem they're in a better position now than they were before, because they've got they've got control of the Strait of Hormuz. The Americans obviously have run out of steam with whatever they were doing, and Iran are claiming victory. So
Yeah.
it doesn't seem to have gone the way that the Americans had hoped it would go.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then payment compensation to Iran. It was funny how Trump changes his words and say, "Look, oh, we will pay for all the rebuilding of Iran and stuff," which I guess is less costly than an outright war, but still, that's a huge humiliation. And then withdrawal of all US combat forces from the region, and so that Iran can just basically control the Middle East. I just feel like that's a no go as well. Absolutely.
Haven't they destroyed all the American bases in the region then
Yeah,
already?
yeah, that's true as well. It just
Yeah,
seems absolutely impossible. But
yeah, no, it does seem like the Americans couldn't possibly be seen to be agreeing to that. But it comes back to will they have any choice in the matter? Do they want to get embroiled in a war with ground troops in the Middle East? And do they even have the ground troops to be able to combat a country like Iran with the terrain that they've got there?
yeah, like is it like 3 million active soldiers with it, whereas the US were trying to do a ground invasion with just 15,000 troops, is what I heard. But there are lots of aircraft carriers still moving to the region, even though supposedly it's peace for the next 2 weeks. But yeah, it's there's lots of if buts and maybes to be fair. But I think if I was a betting man, which might involve buying some more oil and maybe buying some defense stocks, like you said, yeah, that's not happening in my opinion. At the very least, there'll be some minor infringements and escalations still. Um, and yeah, I don't know. I don't see it, but
The-
maybe
the- the-
maybe I got the wrong 10 points. Maybe because I was two different 10 points there. One was actually sort of okay. The other one was even harder. But yeah.
well, there's probably an American version and an Iranian version, but I, I think I think two things you can guarantee that what one is perpetual inflation and the other is perpetual war, and they kind of
Mm,
go hand in hand. So if you're going to put bets on anything, bet on more war, no matter what they say regarding peace talks and so on,
mm,
and bet on inflation because as
yeah.
long as you governments printing fiat currencies and you have these incompetent people in charge of governments, you're going to have war, you're going to have inflation. And those are pretty safe bets for the next 10 years. and
That's,
beyond.
that's a good point as well. Let's look at maybe some defense stocks then. What was that's Lockheed Martin you were thinking of? I wonder where
Lockheed
they are
Martin.
in their probably trading cycle in terms of their 200 moving average. Like it seems quite high to where that is. Yeah, so we've sort of moved off of the 200. Have had a bit of a fall and been tracking that 9 period moving average, but the 200's here, not too far below. What were some others you were suggesting?
General Dynamics is another one.
Maybe some of these are in better positions for buys than others. Oh, I can't see my mouse. You can probably see my mouse, but I can't. It's really weird. I don't know why. Okay, is that loading? What is going on here?
Symbol is GD.
Oh yeah, yeah, there you go. Well, it's loaded now. I stopped sharing. Share again. Yeah, so that's actually that looks very nice. Bull flag, 200 moving average right there, in line with all those wicks there. That looks like a really good opportunity there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got it in support. I mean, you could even have a stop loss behind maybe the wick low there or there,
Yeah, yeah.
and then that's a good buy zone there, here and down to
But
there and
it
there.
might even go down and bounce off 300. That could be an interesting entry point.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Let the crossover happen. 2 green days afterwards. Get above
Yeah.
the 9 period moving average, which is that blue line as a double confirmation, but I'd just be waiting for 2 green days on a 200. Any other tickers quickly?
RTX, Raytheon.
RTX, yeah. Let's see it. Raytheon, yeah. Have I spelled that?
It's spelled Raytheon. RTX is the ticker.
I've got it wrong again. Raytheon, how IUM?
No, no, it's EON.
EOM.
EON.
N
N. N.
EON? Like that.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's not.
Or if you want another one, Northrop Grumman, NOC.
Yeah, similar to Lockheed, a little bit higher than the 200, but maybe that's slightly better than Lockheed because it's got that sort of bull trend starting to form. So it's got the 200 there off of it, 200 there off of it. Yeah, another interesting one. Yeah, no, I would say the one you mentioned a second ago. What was it?
GD. General
GD. Yeah,
Dynamics.
that
Yeah.
that looks like a good opportunity, definitely on a bull flag. There's probably other things at play here, like maybe insider buying or whatever, or it's keeping this in the right sort of position. It seems to hold up maybe a bit better than the
But
others.
yeah, one thing that you can say for sure is that selling weapons is a good business.
Yeah. And a very good point about what you said about replenishing stocks. Even if there was sort of a piece, they're gonna have to replenish stuff and whatever. Yeah, and this one, actually, I really do like this one. It's bounces off those 200s, and it's very clear once it gets below that it's risk on. But when it's above it, bouncing there, bouncing there, bouncing there, yeah, and staying above constantly. So I'd say good opportunity there, definitely. Yeah. Well, I guess is there anything else on that? But I don't think so, really.
I don't think so. I think we covered everything briefly there.
Yeah, yeah.